vast majority of us, in fact, think it's heading in the wrong direction. No surprise, so many of us believe the system is rigged against us, the normal guys. Remember the despair caused by bad mortgages during the '08 financial crisis? Not a single one of the bankers who caused it went to jail. It's like the scales of justice don't apply to some folks. You might have heard that Bitcoin crashed over the past few days. The evaporation of wealth began with problems at FTX, a crypto exchange company. They held $16 billion in customer accounts, some millions of dollars in them, some with the life savings of young adults, some with just $5,000 or $10,000 that people had saved and tried to invest. They didn't invest in FTX, they invested in Bitcoin and held it at FTX. They're a crypto bank. But thanks to loose or no regulation or very loose regulation, they were able to loan, FTX was able to loan $10 billion to the trading firm Alameda. And it's not just an ordinary loan. Sam Bankman-Fried started both firms and controls both firms. Alameda made more bad investments. Now FTX is out somewhere around $8 billion, could be more. Sam put out a statement saying it was his fault, but that's it. He's worth about $1 billion. Ordinary investors are crushed, unable to get out a dime. Tony Katz is with us. Boy, this almost feels like back in the 1920s and some of the things that happened on Wall Street that were just crooked by today's standards, but in a way were legal because they hadn't gotten regulated yet.
Yeah, I got to start with the fact that I don't have anything to do with FTX whatsoever, but I do have a little bit of crypto, not as much as others. I'm not a crypto billionaire. I only hope one day.
Well, I'll put it this way, after what's happened to Bitcoin, if you were a crypto billionaire, now you might be a crypto millionaire.
Still not a bad place to be, but it doesn't mean with this that I favor regulation coming from Congress. And part of the issue is they don't even know what it is they're dealing with. It's like when we see them have these big hearings with Facebook or Meta and Google, Alphabet, whatever they call themselves these days. They don't even understand the questions that they're asking. They have no idea how deep the tentacles go, and they don't know how this works. So when we talk about regulation of this space, first, regulation is not necessarily always the answer. And secondly, they don't understand what they're regulating. So they're not in a position to act intelligently.
Well, fair enough. But you think about the crash of 1929, and that brought about the Great Depression. There was insider trading run amok. There was all sorts of shenanigans that went on at Wall Street firms. And then you created the SEC. You created laws that regulated it. So the little guys don't get crushed. And I would think that at some level, fine. If Congress doesn't understand it, fine, hire some crypto bros who do and create laws that you can't take money in, make people think that it's secure as a bank, and then loan it out.
But you can't have the argument that the SEC gets created to keep the little guy from getting crushed, and then talk about 2008 where the little guy got crushed and the big guy, nothing happened to him.
Well, right, which hopefully that would lead us to say now we actually need to figure out what happened in 2008 and hold those people responsible, right? I mean, we all agree that Bernie Madoff should have gone to jail.
There are a whole bunch of people involved in the 2008 debacle who should have gone to jail. I don't disagree, and you're never going to get me to disagree about insider trading. That is something we all have to agree is never acceptable. But take a look at what Sam Bankman-Fried did here. He took people's money and put them into another company that he owned to engage in speculation. That is an issue. I don't argue that it isn't, but we shouldn't argue that somehow the world of crypto will do better with regulation because it has managed up until this point to do very well. And this is one company, one guy who engaged in absolutely despicable activity. Funnily enough, right? Funnily, if that's even a word, this was the guy that the Democratic Party, as Politico wrote about, I think this was also in the Wall Street Journal, was relying on to figure out how to engage the regulation. That's what makes this so absolutely amazing. And yes, people did get hurt. I don't deny that.
Right. It ends up being sort of the little guys in this who always get hurt. I think about, though, the sort of the responsibility, and you make a great point about how he ingratiated himself throughout Washington with money. Celebrity partnerships of FTX, Tom Brady, Giselle, Steph Curry, Aaron Jones, Trevor Lawrence. Sports partnerships, Miami Heat Arena, Monumental Sports, Golden State Warriors, Major League Baseball, Mercedes F1, TSM Esports. Through all of this, there at some point, do we just decide it's the Wild West and, hey, it's an ownership society, you're on your own?
Very much. That should be, to an extent, a guiding principle. That the Wild West doesn't make it the end of times.
If I walk down to a bank, if I walk down to Chase and I put in a deposit, I put in my $10, they can't go loan that $10 out and make speculative investments in an investment company that Jamie Dimon, the head of Chase, also runs, and use my money as collateral in those investments. That just, you can't do that. So is that regulation okay, but we shouldn't regulate crypto companies?
I think you're going about it the wrong way. The argument is not whether or not someone should. In this case, it happened. It's the idea of, did you ask what kind of investments they're going to utilize with your money? What is the responsibility of the person engaging the investment? There are many people who got into the world of crypto figuring it was Vegas, or they figured, well, it's all going up. It's just the thing to do. You got to get in. This is where the money is, baby. And they never once did any level of due diligence. What happened to the people who took loans on houses, talking about the housing crisis, that they knew they couldn't afford? Why is it that they aren't held responsible? Why is it that we allow people like President Biden to say, hey, you took a student loan, now you don't have to pay it back, when other people did pay it back? Oh, too bad for you. There are times when people get hurt. Even with all the rules at play, people have to be pretty much informed, and they have to do their due diligence, or they're going to get hurt, as opposed to what's happening with the student loan issue, where the people who paid back their loans got hurt anyway.
Yeah, it's almost like history, rhymes. It doesn't repeat itself. You had to get into the tulip craze, too. That didn't work out very well.
Wait, into the what craze?
The tulip craze. Look it up. We'll talk about it next time.
That was before my time.
Look it up. It's good. A learned man such as yourself needs to be able to have at least one tulip reference in any conversation.
Now I've got my work cut out for me. This will happen next time.
All right. We'll talk then. See you then.